He was a leader. He was elected MLA twice in Hyderabad and did yeoman service to the state of Andhra Pradesh at that time and Hyderabad in particular. Then he shifted from politics to academics, and he had the blessings of Almighty God. He could manage both in politics as well as in education successfully, and he started from school, that is the KG class, and today he has got institutions with post-graduations. He's a great man, he was a great man, sorry, but I still feel that he is with us, always smiling, always encouraging, and as people rightly said that a leader should encourage, he was the person who used to encourage, and he was the person, he used to say, "Apan aisa karenge saab." He will never say, "I will do it, I want you all to do it." We will all together do it. So we used to get, as if we are also involved in the thing. He may be having his own plans. How he execute is also in his own style, but he will involve all of us. He will consult everybody, then take a lead. I know that in war, leader is at the back. In love, leader is in front. So that's how things goes in life. He has been doing well, and I think I don't have to read this. I can talk about the family so well. His eldest son, Dr. Sarib Rasul Khan, he is a gem of a boy for me. He is a man, 40 years old, doing very well. He is dynamic, he is young, handsome, plus a very hard worker, cooperates with everybody, and he wants everybody to work with him. He says, "Sir, you are a leader, but you sit in the chair, I will work." So he is a leader who also works. But in our times, we were told that a leader should see that how people work. So, but our leaders are different. This younger generation believes in a different style of working. So I am very happy that the way they are working is successful in whatever fashion, manner they are working. So this institution, we have 4 medical colleges. The father started 2 medical colleges. After his death, the children have successfully managed to get 2 more medical colleges, and we are also planning to have 2 more medical colleges. So altogether it will be 6 medical colleges from the family, which is the greatest contribution, I think, in our country also. A family coming out with so many medical colleges, and minorities, are particularly Muslim minority, is helped. We can see so many girls coming out and studying medical college in medicine. It's a tremendous change. In at least Hyderabad, I can see so many smart girls, but girls becoming smarter, and they are produced as good doctors and given to the society. They enter to learn and go out to serve. This institution will always come forward. We have been serving and participating in so many such social cause organizations, and this is one we assure you from Dr. Sarib Rasul Khan that we will be helping I personally will also help in whatever way we can. Our team will work. We will all do to the best of our abilities and see that you all become successful. So, all the best to you. And there are so many things which I wanted to say. So, in fact, you have to have first knowledge of what you are doing. Once you are confident about doing what you want to do, then you can lead and present the same thing, share the same thing to others, then you will be respected. And once you are respected, you are also loved and liked, and people will follow you. So all the best to you all. I want every one of you to become leaders. Let us all have a leaders meeting in a short time now. Congratulations to all.
He take care of a lot of operations of Shada College, and I would like to add some words.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's a great honor to be addressing a very dynamic young crowd like yourselves, and I'm very pleased to be a part of this leadership summit, and I congratulate the organizers, Ms. Sara Khan and Ms. Zahabia. You have done a wonderful job. And hopefully we'll be seeing more of such workshops in the future. And thank you, Zia, for inviting me and having me here. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. So, again, he's fasting and taking time from his busy schedule. So thank you so much, Dr. All right.
He is one of the gems of our college. We have produced him, and we are proud of him.
Yeah. And I think people feel a little bit bored, but there is so much to learn in one short span of time from so many people. And then you also network. But how would I like to tell you something, a small story. There was a guy, he was sitting in the garden. And this guy was very sad. So a lady went to him and said, "Why are you so sad? You should read this book, How to Be Happy by Dr. Richards." So this man looked towards her and he said, "I am Dr. Richards." So knowing everything will not help till we have a structured, measurable strategy to achieve our goals. Or else it's like operation successful, patient dead. So, like every election or every time you'll see, people promise so much, but nothing happens. Nothing changed. So I think this is a good opportunity for us. Once the minister comes, you're waiting for a thing. He should be here.
We are still waiting.
Yeah. So we just called, so he should be in half an hour. That's the final one. So ladies and gentlemen, let us, after the meet, not lose the touch, and we will have a small networking meet and exchange cards and thoughts. And I think we should all get together and support SAF Foundation in their upcoming initiative, doing a lot of research work as well. All right. Now, again, I would like to start the Women Empowerment session now. I request Professor Lakshmi to please come on the stage. I request Ms. Mary Ann Schutz to please come on the stage because you're on the panel.
Okay.
And you're also a woman.
And you're also a woman. Yes? Yep. Thank God you insisted on that.
No, because somebody said there should be a humor.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Just spoke to her 2 days back. Really, I think attitude and personality is sort of fantastic. So give a round of applause to her. I request the dynamic lady, Ms. Zahabia, to please come on the stage. Do the discussion, and after the end of the session, Ms. Mary will also, she's offering, to the girl child education. So after that, this session, I think we'll do that, and we'll wait, and we'll start with the minister comes, we'll do the next session on sustainability. So here it goes.
Yeah. Well, I'll just begin immediately. Women make better leaders. and a very good leader. Anyone here who refutes this?
If not leaders, they may not become leaders, but they will make leaders. That is right.
Okay, they make leaders, and my statement is women make better leaders. So anyone here who has the guts to refuse this? Refute it? No. Okay, so men or women, anyone here, I said, I didn't all right. No man will dare to, right?
No married man.
No married man.
No married man and no man who's not married but with his girlfriend next to him. Yeah? Okay. So now the question is, why do we say that women make better leaders?
Okay, I keep it open. He's also there.
Okay, here. It's not the ladies first. Now we'll give it to Ms. Vijay.
Well, somebody came and asked me, are you the owner of the house? Are you the boss of the house? No, I said, I'm only housing the boss.
All yours again.
Okay. I did a lot of learning this morning, thanks to the first wonderful panel. To answer your question, Lakshmi, women definitely make better leaders because of this one quality I think we are born with, or we just have innately, and that is the nurturing quality. And by nurturing, I mean that we are somewhere focused on taking everybody along with us in our journeys. We want everyone to grow with us. And somewhere that comes very naturally to every woman that at least that I have met. And we begin to practice it at home, and those of us who choose to make careers for ourselves also take that same quality to the workplace. And I think over there, when we show each person who we work with every day that this is what we want to do, is take you along with me on this journey of discovery and success. Success just comes as a byproduct of wanting to go ahead and face challenges. And they start to believe you and they start to emulate you in their own spheres. And we are not afraid to let go of the power to let people take on. I feel sometimes men can be so controlling of the power that they're afraid to let people take on. They would rather watch people do than be involved, like Sir mentioned. We are able to do it a little easier than men. I mean, I'm not saying that's good or bad, but yeah, that's just the qualities I've observed.
So, just adding to that, I think that's a genetic trait that, when you're born a woman, your genes probably give you that. There's also what I'd like to add is a cultural thing. Women get, because they're born as women, they become natural managers. So because you have inherent management skills. So men will go to an institution to get an MBA. Women just get it on their own. You don't need an education for it. Just get a natural. So we manage siblings, we manage parents, we manage households, we manage everything else around us. If you are a homemaker, you're managing finances plus the maids and the temperamental swings of husbands. If you're a working woman, you manage home and office. So you have inherent traits to manage. And eventually, no matter what you define a leader, at the end of the day, leader manages his followers in any sphere. So as women, you have the natural inherent ability, whether it's given to you because of a cultural, a cultural understanding that women are expected to do that, or it is inherent, I'm not sure of that. But women, because of cultural expectations, are natural managers, and that gives them the inherent edge over men when it comes to leadership.
natural leaders because we have the nurturing ability and also it's inherited. Okay.
You have anything to add?
I think you all have summed it up pretty well. Women, like you said, they raise children, they handle the family, they manage, and so I think that's very important. But although I think there's a lot of qualities in the women, I know that there's a lot of men, very good managers and leaders. But the women, I do agree with the other two that we have that nurturing ability, and I agree with that.
Well, yes, my grandfather taught me to be a leader, and at the age of 17 he says, just get out on the road and start earning. So that's when I started my journey from 17, and I entered business. I started my own business, learned how to manage college with home and parents and their anger tantrums, and then I was out back on the road and started another company of mine, started working for my parents again. And that took me on the journey to marriage, and then I had to, bear the tantrums of my husband who's sitting right here. And yes, then the journey began and started another company of my own. And now I am venturing into SAS Foundation. And yes, I am a leader in the political front too.
I might like to add a little bit. I think what happened to me, my mother was a teacher, and my grandmother was a teacher. And so when I came along, my mother said, you must make your own way in life. You cannot depend on a man, And so I was one of the first in our generation, not the first, but the first group, to really, the women went to school. It was, before that, the attitude was women would stay at the home and the men needed the education and the women raised the family. But that all changed with having a mother who was a teacher, and she said, no, my daughters are going to get an education and they will be able to be self-reliant and be totally independent and make their own way in life. And I have to recognize my mother for that.
Yeah, why not? There is one more thing which the ladies have left out, and that I'm telling you from my own experience. You see, ladies have something which men don't have as much. And what is that?
No.
That is intuition. So whenever I'm faced with a dilemma, whenever I have to take a decision, I ask my wife.
That's nice. Thank you from all the wives around.
Thank you.
One point I would like to add. Women have got the ability for adjustment and tolerance. These two factors are most important in this life.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. I think so now it's a clearly accepted and understood fact that the women are the power navigators. Unanimously, yeah. Either it's because we have the inherent, the nurturing ability, and we have the intuition, all these universal truths, which, and it makes it very difficult for, it's fine, you can come here and say that yes, my wife did it and I am here because of my wife, but it is a little bit difficult to accept that openly. We are trying to change, and I can see there are different nods and expressions floating across. Okay, now, so looking about this particular change that we want to bring in, how do you think should the media project the women to bring about this positive change? I'll begin with you.
Media?
Yeah, because they are the whole and sole responsible for all this, right?
How should the media behave? Well, I don't know, because I just came back from Delhi last night. I practice in the Supreme Court. So what I see every day in the newspaper is they all report all the violence and everything that's going on. I don't know how the media should help project women as leaders. Of course, there are a lot of programs where women leaders are now taking the lead. I know for instance that FICCI, I think has even in Delhi, the main organization has a women leader, and then there's so many organizations where women are the leaders. Maybe
I think the media should highlight that women are not weak or a part of the weaker section, and I think women should not be portrayed as being vulnerable to situations. Everyone is vulnerable, so I feel the media concentrates too much on women issues. So they should make and portray women in a stronger field.
I'm not too familiar with your media here, but I agree that maybe there should be some panels and women leaders, and maybe they could have like a series of to recognize women in the workplace. Maybe that's what would help.
Or even show the women the brighter side of loans available for them to start their business, and how they should go about the business. The media should, get women to be more aware of that.
I'd like to break it into two. One is, what are we trying to get the media to do? Media stereotypes people. It stereotypes people into different brackets. It's not just about women. It's about, it stereotypes minorities. It stereotypes cultural identities. So one is, I think, as a media or as people, we should stop the issue of stereotyping people. People are people, irrespective of gender. And I'm a strong believer of gender equality. So when we talk about, I believe there's no women empowerment if men are not empowered, if men are not educated. Men need to be educated to treat women equally. And I think that's how every portrayal of a woman should be, as a woman, as a person, not because she's a woman, stereotyping in that you cry or you need to look in a particular way, and that's when you'll be accepted. Recognize them as individuals. And the second thing is, a beautiful example of what the media and what some people have tried to do. I don't know how many of you have watched the Nike ad on, young girls, they ask a group of women, okay, how do women run, okay? So that's a beautiful example of, how we typically, because of stereotyping, women lose their ability to actually just be who they are, and they're trying to fit into stereotypes because they believe that that's how they will be accepted. So that's one. There's another one on equality. Again, it's little boys and girls. I think this was, I forgot who did it. It was an experiment. Little boys and girls are told that you do this and you get candy. And the boys were getting more candy and the girls were getting less. And the boys actually stood up and said, we did the same thing, why am I getting more? So that's how you can actually say that, in fact, those small examples can actually help in a long way to show that, irrespective of gender, you're equal, you're the same. The kind of work you do, the way you look, you're individuals, and that is how you should be looked at and treated. And I think that's, their media messages can be very strong.
I think women should not be afraid to speak up. They should work on their own personal branding. Try and defy the social norms or the stereotypes, as Ekta mentioned, to stay back or not speak up when required. I think when more and more women speak up, and when the social media is not what someone makes of you, I think if each of us can take individual responsibility of how we ourselves use social media. Every woman uses social media effectively to convey and portray stories of herself or the people around her or the people that she works with. I think then that is the beginning of a movement of change. If we're expecting someone to do it for us, I don't think that's the way that's sustainable. I think if each of us speaks for ourselves, and also the men speak for the women, not in the way of giving us the boost or anything, just convey your wholehearted opinion, just like he did just now. I think that is the way to go ahead and kind of brand women the way they need to be. rather than expecting someone to do it for us, I think we really need to begin it ourselves.
Picking up on this, brand women the way they need to be, who do you think is responsible for this current status of, the women being, where we are and what we are, how we are branded?
I think both. It's both men and women. Okay? While maybe initially the powers structure happened maybe at a male level, but I think we have to probably look at it. If there are any anthropologists here, they'll probably throw light on it. But if you go historically, the powers were divided very differently, and then they got corrupted, and we reached a society where it was women don't do this, and it's all about the men. And then when women started coming out, again it was stereotyped, and at the end of the day there were responsibilities of the home, and they were cast on the woman. And when the woman wanted to come out further, there's going to be objection, because it's a change. Any change, there is a revolt, there is objection, there is opposition. And I think we are at the cusp of the situation where women have sort of crossed over on the other side. You see more and more women who are trying to make it into the workspaces. And we see change here. So therefore there's a movement for change, and we also see the opposition to the change as a counter to that. But if you say who's responsible for it, I think it's men and women. It's women who pull women down as well. So you cannot say it's only the men, it's women as well. Women as women, we need to be supportive of each other. We need to recognize each other for our qualities and respect each other, and only then we can go forward. So while we expect men to understand women, we also should expect women to understand women.
I just want to share some interesting general knowledge with you. This was sent to me by the wife by WhatsApp. What do bulletproof vests, fire escapes, windshield wipers, and laser printers all have in common? All are invented by women. So you see, women are not lagging behind. They are at the forefront now. Whether it's in space technology, how many women are working in the Indian ISRO. How many people there at the top? We have recently inducted a lady judge in the Supreme Court, Ms. Indu Malhotra, and I was in a court yesterday. So you see, in every field, the women are reaching the top. Only thing is the parliamentarians have left us behind. They have not voted for the 33% women representation. Thank you.
Actually, always women were dominating in the household also.
Involved in this. She just said that, Ekta said that the men have to get involved. Where do we take it on from here? We've been speaking about it, women empowerment, we have got to do this, we have got to do this. Yes, women are born and made leaders, etc., etc. But then, there is a full stop again there, right? So how do we take it first here?
I believe that, men in the U.S., they are working just like the wives have to work too. I mean, it's like two-income families to survive. So they both have to be professional, they both have to work. And the men are taking on more roles of the women than ever before. I mean, it's our men who say, okay, I take paternity leave when, a woman has a baby. Well, I have to help out. I have to pick up the kids from school today. I have to take the child to the doctors because my wife is too busy. So right now I see a lot more equality in the home than I had in the past. I would say in the last 10 years, more and more of the men, and I know because, since we have many men working for us as well as women at the university, it's like, I have to stay home today and work from home because my child is sick. My wife has to be at work. So it's there, and so in the U.S. we are very aware of it and accepting that responsibility.
Yes, I agree with Marianne. It's quite visible now even here in India. There are a lot of homes where both parents are working and there is a support from both the ends where one takes over when the other is home tired. Or yes, it is a dual process. I agree.
What can men do?
It has to be self-examined, sir.
Give respect to women. See, when you go in Delhi, you will see the Ottoman. I give respect to women. He's got it printed there. And then the government also says, Beti Padhao, Beti Bachao. And as far as men are concerned, they should, give preference to girls. I mean, for myself, I have a daughter. So, you should give preference to girls. That's the way you can encourage the girls. That's what I feel.
Girls are the most lovable persons.
Yeah. Thank you, sir.
I have a statement. Can I?
Yes, why not?
Sir, a good husband, good or bad, she will discuss. Husband to a wife and a father to a daughter. As per my experience, my age is 35 below. It will be 35 in another 1 year. Practice makes men perfect, but women are born perfect for me.
Oh my God.
I really tell this from my heart. I experienced and I have done all the researches also. Because my wife makes me research on such topics. She keeps me testing how support I am to her. There she examines that all those things. See, each and every it happens with each and every person, I believe, who are called as men.
And what is the key search word? Women perfect.
Do what they say. Success keyword is do what they say. Do not examine what do they say. Thank you.
But they will always be right.
We will have a great intuition, as Sir said. We have a very good intuition in that.
Contributing equally at the workplace, but more importantly at home. And that is still a long way to go in India. We have not yet reached that stage. A lot of corporate companies are now allowing men to contribute equally by giving them that kind of time off from work and stuff. But in general, it's still not ingrained in our society that men should contribute equally at home as much as at work. Only if that thought process change happens when men realize that by increasing my participation in activities at home, that is the best way for me to empower my women in the house. I think that will be the beginning of a big change. And also the way we, in this generation of moms, we raise our sons is very different from probably the way my mom raised me and my brother. Although we haven't done badly, my brother equally contributes at home as he does at work. But I'm saying the generation in general, I think the onus again comes back to us women about how we raise our sons going out into the future.
To add to that also, I think a lot of men should ask the question, how do we treat our wives? Do we treat them the way we want our daughters to be treated by their husbands? That's one thing. And a lot of women should, as you said, groom your sons in a way that you would want to be treated, and how you should wish that they should treat their wives the way you would want to be treated by your spouse. So I think if everybody starts examining the equations between your child and you, okay, you will reach some sort of balance, and you'll give that balance to the next generation. Because this generation, it's very difficult to change cultural mindsets. You cannot tell somebody overnight, what you're thinking is wrong. You need to think this way, because you will have opposition. Only subtly can you make cultural adjustments and ingrain it in the next generation. Schools, children in schools should be encouraged to be gender equal. Today we have one queue for girls, one queue for boys. Boys, you can go do this, girls, no. So in schools, you're teaching things that you're a girl, you're a boy. This is what you do, this is what you should do. I remember in school when we used to have these certain classes where you learn about embroidery, knitting, etc. Girls would be going for those classes, boys would go to space sport. So this is, or carpentry is something else. So your hobby classes are by gender. The choices that are given to you are by gender. If you abolish that at the school level, at least the children will start looking at each other as equals. And I think that is a start.
May I?
Yes.
Actually, what Mary said.
Per se, it's the father does, the mother does, so they have grown up, they are brought up that way, doing everything. And I'm sure our men who go outside also do anything and everything there. But they come back here. They come back here and then sort of, yeah. I went there, came back, and then I can dominate at home, right? Okay. What Ekta said, it is very difficult to change the mindset. But yes, it is changing slowly from what we have seen, what it was earlier and to what it is now. And what about the workplace scenario? How do you think women are accepted in leadership roles? Why is there such a
Can I take it? The organization I work with, Samvad Partners, we are an exception to the rule. We have 13 partners, almost 75% of which are women. About 80% of our workforce across the country is women. And it's not by choice, it's just happened. We've always promoted merit. So it's the women who've performed it, the women who've gotten promoted. So we're probably an exception to the rule. But workplaces are trying to make it equal. Workplaces are making the effort. But unless that effort happens at a sensitive, at a cultural level, it'll become very difficult to implement. I might give a girl more maternity leave. I might give a boy paternity leave. I might say, you can take off for something. But unless they utilize it for the right purposes, the purpose is defeated.
I'm a social entrepreneur, so I work in the social space. We empower 12 artisan groups across the country who work with terracotta riverbed clay as the medium. And all our groups are in remote rural areas. And I'm happy to say all the 12 groups that I have women leaders. And they also work with, some of the groups have men and women. They're not all exclusively women groups. We have men artisans reporting to women artisans in our enterprise. And I think they're setting an example in their communities about what capacity or what capability they have. Their being primary breadwinners for their families is really promoting the word in their communities that, we can also do this. And this is at a craft level. And as we all know, India has the most number of crafts, especially in the dying, stage right now. So the other important statistic that I wanted to bring to your notice is also that 85% of our labor force is in the unorganized sector. And it makes it, and also when you look at, that is on one hand, and on the other hand, when you look at the number of unemployed youth in this country, there is a huge potential for people to be in the social space, empowering more and more men and women to come into the workforce and bringing this unorganized sector into the organized sector space. So when we are able to do it at a grassroots level with something as simple as riverbed clay, I've been working in this space for about 15 years now. I started with my own group, and today there are 12 such groups across the country, about 200 women in our enterprise who are enabling their communities in training and livelihoods. I think even if it's the smallest drop in the ocean, I think that is the beginning of change. And women understanding their capacity, their capability, that once they are empowered, they can empower so many people. It's like a chain reaction. I think that is, you know, example enough for us to just keep emulating and keep going forward. But we have to be willing to make that, you know, first step. So
just one more statistic, which is just to add. It's an interesting fact that, you know, if you look at studies over the last 5 years, it's shown that women in the workforce is increasing in rural India and it is decreasing in urban India.
Yeah.
Any viewpoints from your side, from that end?
So I can add that in medical colleges also, when we were students in 60s, the number of girl students were only 20%. Now 80% of the girls, 80% of the students are girls in our medical college, which is a co-education.
Step out, and when we rub shoulders, and when we fix each other's crowns outside, right? And that is where the change actually begins.
As women work, then you notice that the number of children go down. And so India was always known, has always been known for the demographic bonus. And I don't know if you've ever heard of it.
That's a nice way of putting it. I know.
And at one time, I mean, Hyderabad in the south had like, because women are more progressive there, the birth rate is lower than in the north. And as women become more educated and you have better health care, then more of these women are going to work and get educated, and there will be fewer children. But I don't think we had thought about how it affected the population. But it will affect the growth of India in the long run, just because it affected the growth of the U.S. And right now, I think the average age in the U.S. is like 45. And in Europe, it's like 48. And but you could see that when women started becoming their own in the workplace, and in the 60s and on was when it happened in the U.S., the birth rate of the country went down. And now the U.S. is considered like an older society, because we're not, the birth rate is not there, you know. So India did have a huge birth rate, and this is why I think the average age is what, 26 or so in India. It's amazing how young the population is. But with all the success of the women, you're going to see a decrease in that. And so it's just something to be aware of, you know, because we're not having children like they used to have. And so you will probably be in the place where we are now several years from now, but give it another 50 years.
Adding youth to the US, because a lot of our youngsters are getting exported
there.
to the US.
Yes, we love India, because you are giving us your youth, and we need that youth. so we love the Indian population to be strong like it is, because we are getting the benefits of it. But it's just something that we had not really mentioned today, and I just wanted to make an observation.
Thank you. Anyone you like?
Actually, what I was speaking so far was just ad-libbing. And actually, the discussion will be all about. But before coming to that, in the Supreme Court, I was dealing recently with a case where a mother is fighting her own daughters for control of a company which is doing very well in the pharma sector. Anyway, so it's women versus women sometimes.
Yeah.
Always.
Always. Now, actually, coming to the women's safety and law, which I thought I was supposed to speak on, we have got several laws recently, in the recent past, which have empowered women, which have sought to protect the safety of women. You see, previously we used to have safety on the women as long as we're outside, but inside the house they were not protected. So now we have Domestic Violence Act. And then we've got another act which is called the Sexual Harassment Act in the offices. So nowadays, you're supposed to have certain guidelines on how to follow this in each and every organization, including the High Court. So there, it was found, the paper says, this is the Hindustan Times last week, which says the Supreme Court's Vishaka verdict, which deals with women's safety in the office, has not yet reached Tis Hazari. Tis Hazari is a court, lower court in Delhi. So even they have not followed the guidelines raised by the Supreme Court in this decision. Thank you.
And that was the man having the last word.
I remember in my days as a market researcher in London, and when we used to do research, and we called kids, little kids, and the girls, they answer you quickly. Their brain development is much better than boys. If you talk to a 5-year-old girl and a 5-year-old boy, she replies, much quicker. The brain works fast. Then you do more research. Their brain is bigger than men. Better wired. They live longer. They live healthier. And then you're talking about empowerment. I think, just
But what made you do so much of deep research for a woman? I really want to know.
That I'll tell you later. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I think it was a wonderful session. Lakshmi, I would request the panel speakers, except Lakshmi and Mary, to stay back, and the rest of you can leave. Our minister is on the way. Just got a year, 4,000 people died because of the gas cylinder blast. And he has made a software where it can send a message if there is any problem with the cylinder. And he's doing a lot of other work. The young IT professional and entrepreneur. Please request Mr. Siddharth Modi to come on the stage. He's an entrepreneur. I know him for a long time. He's a guru in digital marketing and he has done a lot of startups, consulting, and he's currently heading a company which is to do with digital marketing. I request Mr. Jack to come on the stage, please. His support for entrepreneurship is, he's himself a very successful entrepreneur, but again, he is the face of Hyderabad, I can say, when it comes to entrepreneurship. It's always.
That was a very nice way of putting it, Zia. Thank you. Well, I had no idea I'm going to. Anyway, now that we are here, I think who's going to begin with what has motivated you, to be what you are today, to do what you are doing today?
And the reason I jumped into this is because, like with a lot of other things in my life, I also became an entrepreneur by chance. So I'm a humble trainer. Okay, I was very happy just being the delivery person. Never had I thought that I would venture into managing my own learning and development company. And the one person who I have to thank for this, I didn't thank him then, but I really thank him now, was my husband, who said, if you can manage all of us and do such a fantastic job of it, why would you want to go and work for somebody else? So he put together my company Pratham, handed it over to me and said, run it. And there's been no looking back since then.
Well, I'll tell you my story. My husband and I, neither one of us had thought about owning a company before. It had never even crossed our mind. And my husband, he was, Dr. Schurz, he was in physical sciences. He was has a doctorate degree in physics. And he worked for the BDM Corporation and for Night Vision Lab in the military for 20 years. And in the past, what I had done was I was in charge of the State Office of Consumer Affairs in Northern Virginia, and I dealt with investigations, mediation, legislation, consumer education, that type of work. And my father-in-law had a small travel agency in school, and he was in bad health, and he was going to go bankrupt. And we just thought it would kill him. And so we said, okay, we will, whatever debt you have, we'll just assume it, and we'll start school over again. And that's what we did, and we had no vision of ever doing what we're doing. And that was back in '86 that we took over. And we grew it from 5 employees and 5 students and huge debt, till today, where we have 7 campuses in Virginia and Maryland and 1 in Delhi, and then our online division. And now we go through the applied doctorate degree. So we're very successful and very happy that we were able to grow a business like that from not having any idea of what we were getting into. So that's how we got into it.
Thank you. Actually, my answer is a little different. I actually grew into it. I inherited the business, so because my parents were in the business, so entrepreneurship was sort of natural to me. But to answer your question in a slightly different way, what keeps me in it?
Keeps you in it.
See, the fact that you can add and create value. You take something and ensure that you make it much more than that. And that is what keeps me in it. Otherwise, there's a big question always about, in my mind especially, about the earned income and the unearned income. It's very easy to have unearned income if you have inherited. But the idea to take something, ensure that 1 + 1 becomes 5, and then you keep a small portion of it for yourself. And the rest goes back to the society. In every which way, it goes to your employee, it goes to your customer, it goes to everybody who is connected to you. And that, I think, is what keeps me very actively as an entrepreneur, and that's what gives me the kick of being an entrepreneur, that you're creating value out of which was not there.
I completely agree with what Sir said. What brought me into this entrepreneurship game is that we need to take responsibility and do something about the problems, and not just keep overlooking it or let it happening. We should take responsibility through the risks and try to achieve something, so that will be valuable to the society. So that thought, that is the goal which brought me to entrepreneurship.
That's great. So what brought me to entrepreneurship is a very difficult question, because I was, I didn't got this business inherited, so I was working with a company, and I had worked with the Fortune 500 companies like HCL, CMS and all, working for 15 years, and then choosing entrepreneurship was a very difficult situation for me. Because at the end of the month, the bank balance is good. But you have to forgive that, right? If you start your own business, you will never know which date you will be coming that. Maybe it may come or not. But still, you have to motivate yourself that one day it will come. For that, you require, only thing is love for the work what you are doing, and the passion. If you have the passion, and if you enjoy the work what you are doing, you can definitely succeed in your works or business models.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, Management Association. I'm glad to be here with all of you this afternoon. I'm basically a mechanical engineer and an MBA by qualification, but all through my college I was a very shy guy. I would never step up and take any tasks on hand. I would always be at the back end, probably encouraging people. But somewhere down the line, destiny had it differently. So when I was just out of college, like most of my peer group, I was also almost about to go to the US. I had a visa for a job there and all that. And destiny had it otherwise, and I had a major tragedy at home. My dad had a very serious medical issue and he got bedridden. So I was at a crossroads where I had to decide what to do. So and the situation was such that I had to have a flexibility of time to take care of him, most importantly. So that's where I turned out an entrepreneur. So I invented an entrepreneur in me, I would say, and then I started doing things which I'm good at, and very lucky for me, the first 3 years I've been very, very good, and I became an instant hit, and I started doing more and more businesses after that. You know, the last 2 decades, I'm proud to say we've started about 10 enterprises which have been doing extremely good. So that's how I'm an entrepreneur by accident, but today, when I look back, the learnings that I have, I've been able to share with a lot of, I have some friends here in the room who would definitely acknowledge that. So that's where I'm known for in the networking circles in Hyderabad as a consultant for many of the businesses that have happened. Thank you.
Well, we have entrepreneurs by accident or by inheritance, you know. We have, then this one, whom did you see as your, you know, role model, a leader, and, you know, for you to go the path that you are going? And what is it that you have to say to those people who are looking up at you as leaders? It is.
So again, a very obvious answer is my father, whom I take as a role model. And you know, when you take somebody as a role model, the easiest way to inspire from them is not to see what they have done. I have found a very good way of getting inspiration from my role models. It's a very easy way of doing it. So I just put myself in a position, and if I say that if my father was here, what would he have done? So things become easy. More importantly, you know, when you have a role model, and the other thing which is there, I think to myself, if I am here and I say something to my father, what is the question he will ask me? And if I cannot answer that question, it is upon me to find that answer to that question, and that's the way forward. I don't know if I'm getting this across to you, I'll repeat this again. If I have a situation, I just imagine myself that I'm reporting to my father. And I know what type of questions he's going to ask me. I should be sure that I know all the questions which he's going to ask me. And believe me, if I know all the questions which I think he's going to ask me, there's nothing which is in the grey area. I've got it all answered, I know exactly where I need to go. So that's a very easy way in which I take inspiration from my father, who's a role model. So having a role model is one thing, but how do you take advantage of your role model? I felt that just putting it in your mind there is where I find it so easy.
It's an excellent way of
the big picture and getting.
Yeah, exactly. But role models, as sir has told very correctly, that we should take the advantage of that one. How to take the advantage is more important. But yes, means all of us, many of us will be having the role models in real life. Maybe our father, maybe elder brother. We try to imitate them. We try to make them put ourselves in their shoes, and we try to act like them, right? But yes, we found many situations where we cannot overcome the situation, problem. At that time, we find them. We will think them, and we will see how they used to act for that one. Like sir told, that's a very good thing. But apart from that, we have real-time heroes, right, who have done wonderful in the business. Like Steve Jobs is there. Like means we can go with the strategies, what they have done, how they have implemented, developed their business. There are many case studies which are available. in the market, and we can go through these case studies and we can understand at that particular point where we are facing the problem, what that case study will support us, how that case study will support us. This will take us to the global perspective, right? So we can overcome that particular problem or issue at this point in the business, I can say. So if we can analyze the case studies which are available, means in most of the universities, like Stanford University also published the case studies for different problems, right? So we can go ahead and study the case studies and analyze our business, the problem, and synchronize to that, so that we can get some solutions for them. So this is one way which we can take. And apart from that, how do, the second question was?
Your
role model.
Yeah.
Like role models, I can say, there are many role models, like Steve Jobs is there, and basically the first role model to whom I follow is my father. Obviously, everyone, means most of the Indians will do that, right? So the second, and many more are there, like all the businessmen, like Steve Jobs, to whom I follow very much, right? And basically, how to take the advantages to case studies and all, we can take the situations will be coming to that time, so that we can take the advantage of that.
Both of my husband and my family were in education, and so we always have valued education, and we believe in our motto is education heals the world. If you have education, you can go somewhere, you can go far. Without education, you really have very little hope. And so our whole philosophy has been education heals the world. And our whole goal in life is to try to bring education throughout the world. That's our goal. And come what may, I don't know if we'll accomplish it, but that's our goal. But our mentors would be our parents, our family, and also in 2009, my husband got Entrepreneur of the Year award from Ernst & Young. And from that, there were these groups organized where they were entrepreneurs in different groups. And then he was invited to join one of them, and then they would meet on a quarterly basis. And they would always, you would have to write a abstract, I guess. And they would all help one another with what they felt their major problem at the time was, based on all the experiences of people in the room, which they felt was very helpful, because you get all the great minds together to help you solve a problem that you might have. And so this entrepreneur, getting the Entrepreneur of the Year award brought a lot of resources to us that we would not have had available.
Role models, there have been several, okay, and I find role model every step of the way. Father, mother, no taking away from what they have given us, and the way they lead the way. Having said that, whenever I have needed spark of inspiration, I have found it, and not always from people who who've really done big things in life. Very often from very ordinary people like me, and you, if I may say so. I'm not taking away from your excellence, but I'm saying that you do not always have to be a Steve Jobs to inspire people. Oh, I'm very inspired by him too. Problems, and in terms of solutions, are never found in the same dimension in which they are created. So we always have to rise above them or go below. And that is something that I have always followed. Mr. Surana, what you mentioned was very, very right about, what would I do if I was questioned, and if there's somebody asking me that question. Perceptual positions is what is the term for that particular thing, and it works brilliantly, and that is what I follow as well. Questions are the key. So instead of feeling that we know everything, if we question ourselves and from that place future-pace the problem, look back, find a solution within the questions is what I have followed all through. And it's worked for me.
Well, being a first generation entrepreneur, I did not have anybody in the family to look up to, but that meant a lot more to me because I had a very clean slate and I was starting afresh with my experiences. So I grabbed every opportunity on the way. I reached out to people, offered my services and support wherever required, and grabbed opportunities where others failed, and then started proving myself and got closer to some big industry leaders as well, I would say, very successful people, and started learning from them step by step. And I've been part of many professional organizations and social organizations where I had this opportunity to serve the organizations in leadership roles, but all that happened only because of my initiative and my ability to prove myself en route. But I think role models, like you said, I've been many because I've done a variety of things over the last 2 decades. So I've not been, I didn't have a straight line path. I went through ups and downs, definitely. So I had inspirations at every stage and got back on my feet and started moving ahead.
Thank you.
So my role model was my father, but what I tend to see from a role model is that instead of just seeing them as a role model, I try to see them as a competitor. Like what more can I do than the person has done himself? So that gives an edge, that gives extra fire, motivation, and that.
You do make mistakes. I'll answer it in 2 ways. One is about owning up to your team and what you do next. But just as a history of my own business, I have been in business now for 30 years, and I actually closed down 7 businesses. I've closed down factories. I have probably laid off or stopped employment of 700 people. I still have about 1,500 people working with me. So every time you close down, there is a renewal. Now, is it all a result of my mistakes? Maybe some things, but most often we see in life that time is changing so very fast. And believe me, the next 10 years, we are going to see the change which we have not seen in the last 50 years. And to even imagine that, to some people is very frightening. To others would be very exciting. To me, it is still exciting. I don't know how long it will be exciting to people. But so errors are going to happen not only because of what you do, but also because of the time and the environment. But owning up is something very, very, very difficult. And probably I am not as good as I would like to be in terms of owning up. But there's one thing which I always try to do when I'm with my team or anybody else. Unless I feel very, very strongly about the way things have to be done, the person who's driving the work, I allow his way to go through. So I think that is a thing which is helping me there. I don't try to impose my will on every small thing as a team. So suppose I am say 40-60 on something, and I will go with the 40, not on my 60% of my view. If the person who's actually delivering the job, who's on the front end, feels that he needs to do it the other way. So that is one way which I think I'm trying to learn from that. Thank you.
Well, when it comes to the question that you said, accepting mistakes, yes, I do. In fact, the way I operate most of my tasks is I empower and enable my team and tell them that go ahead and do it. In case you fail, I'm going to take it up. In case you're successful, we're done. So that's the way I am able to multitask and actually create more leaders and more managers in the team. So that's the way I look at it, and every failure, I take ownership of that.
Owning up to my mistakes, admitting that I'm a failure, not a problem. It just gives me a chance to start all over again. And what's life without a challenge? So I'm learning all the time from my team, from people around me, from the organizations that I work with, and it's very, very exciting. So I think It's fantastic if you can just say, okay, I messed up, now what's next? And that's been my motto, and I think it's working out really well for me.
Yes, we give a lot of responsibility to management below us, and so I think our biggest problem would be having too much trust sometimes in the lower management because they feel a certain way, and then if something doesn't pan out, you know, of course, as a leader, and we have to own it. And it's like, but then that's a lesson learned, and then we go back and work through correcting whatever that issue might have been. But it is important to I think more important to let your lower management and be empowered to make those decisions, and because we all learn from it. But in the end, you know, we have to hold on to that responsibility and correct it. But it's learning experience every day.
Right. Accepting mistakes? Yes, obviously you should. If you are a leader, the first quality of a leader is that you will accept mistakes. Then how do you accept the mistakes, whether the mistake is done by you or your team? If you have done a mistake, if you are accepting that, there is not a big deal of that. But if your team has done a mistake and if you are coming forward, putting a step forward and accepting their mistakes as yours, that is really entrepreneurship or leadership, whatever you can call it as.
Okay. If you were to, what advice would you give the young budding entrepreneurs who are, you know, looking up at you all as role models and leaders? What advice would you give it to them, and what sort of qualities you ask them to, you know, imbibe?
Sorry, I'm going again first. This is a favorite
Sure.
question of mine. So I keep telling wherever I go, when I was learning management, they told me that we must look at customer satisfaction. And then they said that we must look at customer, exceed their expectation or delight them. I have a very simple formula. You must make your customer lazy. If you want to succeed in business today, make your customer lazy. And believe me, you look around you, every business or service which is successful today is making you lazy. If you are not able to make your customer lazy, you are out of business.
That's a very good point.
So, just, and believe me, I take it to a very, very micro level. Every decision which I make, is it making my customer do a little more work or making him a little more lazy? If it is making him a little more lazy, go ahead, otherwise don't. So that's a very, very simple way of doing it. Now, if you're looking at the two aspects of what entrepreneur needs to be, he has to be an impossible combination of a poet and a banya. A poet to dream up the impossible, to think of what could be and what could not be, and then a banya to make a business case out of it and ensure that he takes every penny out of the business. So you have to get into this, and believe me, this combination is not easy.
It is not.
So either you do this or employ somebody who can do one of the two. So this is what I feel as this thing. And the third thing, sorry for being a little long, I have a very interesting concept known as anti-fragile. So if you look at anything, you know, what is fragile? Fragile is something which breaks. And anti-fragile, people will say, is something which doesn't break. No. Fragile is something which is break when you hit it. Anti-fragile is something which will become stronger when you hit it. Now that is, again, another impossible concept. But believe me, only if you can make yourself anti-fragile, because shocks are going to come. People are going to come and hit you again and again and again. If you try to just protect yourself, you're not going to be good. Only when you can take advantage of the uncertainties in the nature and ensure that you can come out stronger after that, will your business survive and grow and thrive. Thank you. Slightly long answer.
As a consulting professional, I get an opportunity to work with a lot of young entrepreneurs who have brilliant ideas. But I sometimes encounter these situations where these entrepreneurs are very possessive about their ideas. They kind of close themselves lock themselves in those closed boxes. They really don't want to discuss ideas. They really don't want to see what's happening around in the world. And in the process, they're probably doing the same thing that somebody else in the other part of the city is doing. So I've seen many of these young entrepreneurs hitting the roadblock primarily because of this kind of an attitude. So a great idea doesn't mean anything until you take it to a customer and make your monies out of it. So unfortunately, the younger generation, I would say, I know a lot of friends from the corporate who gave up plum jobs to become entrepreneurs. I see this mindset in them. I might have a great idea. What is its use if I keep it to myself or a few people around me? Everybody comes out saying, I have a great idea. All that I need is money. All that I need is money. Money is what drives the world. So if you have a great idea, why would anybody invest money into you? What is it that you are in terms of the ROI, or what is it in terms of the customer acquisition that you have? So this is something really unfortunate. I mean, we see a lot of ideas floating around in the city, particularly Hyderabad. You look at the entrepreneurial ecosystem, there are too many ideas all over the place. Unfortunately, most of the idea owners are scouting around for financial support, which is unhealthy, I feel. I mean, everybody wants to make a quick buck out of the idea that they have. So, my message to the young entrepreneurs is always, let's start somewhere, make your product accessible, product or service accessible to people around you, see the success of it, then some investors would definitely want to come in and pitch in for you. So that's my message to most of the young entrepreneurs.
One of the things that we're looking at doing at Stratford, you have a lot of people, a lot of students, and they have a lot of great ideas. Like you say, but do they really know how to carry it out? And one of the things we're looking at doing is incubators. And I'm pretty excited about it, because if we have someone who's really got an entrepreneurial mind, you give them some space, you give them guidance and direction while they're still in your clutches, you might say, at the university, and they can develop those ideas, and they have the support around them to bring them to fruition. So this is something that we're looking into, and I really hope within the next year or so we can implement it, because I see so many great minds and so many ideas, but they don't know how to execute them. And we need to do more to help develop those ideas.
Yeah. So entrepreneurs, what they need to have. So first thing, they need to have not a single idea. Like my friend told that people run around with a single idea and they'll think that this idea will gonna change the world completely, right? But for that, they have to evaluate their ideas first. Okay, the piracy is one problem, but secondly, if you want to evaluate your idea, and it should be a jungle of ideas, it should not be one tree. One tree will never form a forest. It should be a jungle of ideas. When you have more than one idea, then the entrepreneurship, then the business will be successful. Or else, one idea will start, and if that one idea will fail, your business will fail. And second thing is, you should never quit. Never give up. And the third one is, you should have an exit policy. If you don't have an exit policy, you never know where you're going. You will be run under the financial losses, and the debts will be increasing. Simple. You should have an exit point. At this particular point, if my business is not running after 6 months or after 3 months or after 6 months or 1 year or 2 years, you should have a point where you should exit. Means we all will start a business with a positive idea that we want to run for a long time. But yes, if we don't have an exit point, negative thinking is also very important. Like questioning ourselves, as sir told and madam told. Like we have to ask so many questions to ourselves. So that is a negative thing. Again, we will ask negative questions also in that one. Why we should do this, right? So here we should have a pure cut. I've seen many people, means I give digital marketing support to the people, and many startups will come to me. So at that time what happens is people will start a business with total NGO, right? They will run for 1 year, 6 months, then they'll get financial from firms and all are trying to ask loans from different people, and they'll pump it to the business, but they don't know when they have to exit. The simple point is, if you are a business, if you want to truly run a business, you should run, means as certain you should be a banya, right? You should know when to quit also. It's not always be winning. Sometimes you have to lose also to win, right? So these three things are very important. You should have an exit policy. You should have multiple ideas, not even single idea, multiple ideas you should have, and you should again never give up. Attitude you should have. Thank you.
So a lot of things that I wanted to talk about have already been addressed, and hence I don't want to really duplicate.
Excuse me. Ladies and gentlemen, I request you all to please welcome the Member of Parliament and our eminent and Ms. Zahabia to present him with the flower bouquet. I request Zahabia to present him with the flower. Of Sarah and Zahabia. Sarah, as you all know, is the founder and chairperson of SAS Foundation. She's also an eminent lawyer. I request Sarah to please come on the stage. Take a seat.
Excuse me, ma'am, second moment.
Schedule, and as you all know, Miss Mary has just flown in from America today morning to attend this session, and Moshni is an eminent entrepreneur and a trainer. So we'll start this session. This session is all about sustainability. What we do in current environment, we're talking a lot about development, but what we are not focusing on is, are we doing just development or sustainable development? Is the development costing environment? If you see the way the global warming is causing havoc around the world. So we will discuss on this session about sustainability, how we can come up with new ideas, initiatives to bring a sustainable change, not just in our enterprise, but also in the society. So Mr. Dattatreya will be a panel speaker as well in this, but I would like the session to be initiated by Mr. Devendra Surana, because I think he's the apt person for that.
You're making me Sachin Tendulkar too many times. Yes, sustainability is definitely top of my line. So just a little bit of introduction is required why I think Zia thought of me as sustainable. We are into the businesses. I'll just talk about it. In the earlier session in entrepreneurship I did not, because it was not required, but here it is. So we have wind power. I have wind power all over the country. I have solar power plants all over the country again. We make solar power projects, both thermal as well as PV. So everybody is talking about the photovoltaic panels, but I am the biggest manufacturer of solar water heaters in the country today. So as far as the business is concerned, I'm doing all the businesses which are really sustainable as far as sustainability is concerned. The new project, the next project which I am now going to start in about 3 to 6 months, is going to be converting waste plastic into fuel oil. So this project I am very close to starting. I am doing all the trials right now. So we'll be having a big plant where we convert the waste plastic into furnace oil, and the furnace oil will be also used within the factory. So basically I'm trying to make the whole thing sustainable. And you know the best part about all these things? I've been in across all the things except for one project in Gujarat where we've got something from the government. All the other projects on its own merit are profitable. It is not that any of these projects which require sustainability actually require support from outside. They are all paying by itself, and today, believe me, solar power is the cheapest form of power. It is cheaper than even coal projects. So we don't even have to look at saying that I'm doing something good for the government. It's just because it's good, makes good business sense. We are doing all these things. And I think there is another thing I'll just add again, eating into somebody else's time for a minute. I'm a very big optimist. You know what was the biggest problem on earth in the year 1890? And I'm not making a joke out of it. The biggest problem in the world that year, there was a huge international conference in Paris, was what do you do about horse shit? Seriously, horse shit. Because there were no cars and every city was full of horse carriages, and there used to be a problem of horse shit all over the world, and there was a huge conference in the world as to what are you going to do about horse shit. And that is what I feel development is all about. It's not development or environment. Development will take care of environment. Today, every problem which we are thinking of today is not going to be a problem 15 years from now. I'm so very confident. You know the two problems which we talk about? Energy. You know how much energy we use in the earth? We use on the earth, the energy which we receive from the sun is enough for half a day in a year. We don't even use 1% of the solar energy which reaches the earth. It's just that we don't know how to harness the energy and use it in the right way. The second biggest problem, we talk about water wars. People just try to frighten us. Do you know how much water we are using in the world? We are using 0.3% of the water available on the earth. It is just we don't know how to harness the water or get it to places where it is required. And as solar energy and other forms of energy are going to become cheaper, water problem will solve itself. Because the only reason water cannot reach a hilly area or somewhere else is it's too costly to transport it there. Once the energy problem is solved, even the water problem will be solved. So I am a very staunch believer that all the problems which we are talking about today will be laughing the way we were laughing about horse shit in 1890. Thank you.
Very insightful on your company in Deccan Chronicles. I was reading the kind of work you're doing, and he very rightly said that we are not utilizing the natural resources properly, and that's the major cause of all the issues. And that is also connected to a lot of corporate issues, especially with the entrepreneurship, because you will see, the environment is causing, it will also cause business big time. I'd like the Dean of Sharma College to put some light on the sustainable healthcare, because our country, especially, is a very big country, but good healthcare services not reaching, I believe, everyone. What are your inputs like? What can we do?
Well, that's a very good question, you say, because health is wealth, and without health, we are nothing. So I definitely say that we should take a lot of care and interest in health. And in our country, the last thing is health. The importance is not at all given. When we are growing, we are not educating our children to take care of their health. So it should start from that level till we become like our great man. Now, the Minister Saab is there, MP is there. His health is to be appreciated. He is a living example. He has kept himself well. He has climbed up. तो ऐसा हो गया हर लोग हर इंसान जो यहाँ पे है वो हेल्थ के लिए इम्पोर्टेंस देना चाहिए everything we should care, and that is the reason why. So for that, nature is important. Our parents, our grandparents used to teach us to go according to nature. Eat all the seasonal fruits, eat the food which is available at that time. Now we are becoming more and more artificial. We are going away from this, not caring for health care, not caring for environment. We are not being taught properly how to go about, but we are becoming nourished. We are just following West, I'm sorry to tell, but we are taking certain things of yours which are not practical in our Indian atmosphere.
Right.
So that has to be understood.
That's a good point.
And it should be taken care of. Education is most important.
Absolutely.
So our institute, Shahjahan Institute of Medical Sciences, is concentrating on health through health education, and we are producing the best of the students. I'm sure they will be the persons who will lead the country and see that India becomes the healthiest country in the world.
I think so one point I like to bring to your notice, because I was talking about healthcare management, and I was heading the entire Abu Dhabi city's environmental services for almost 1 year, working for the king. And what was really wonderful, working in a very small city, if you see Abu Dhabi compared with Hyderabad.
Yeah,
and that's in the middle of a desert, but you will not find dust. All right? And you come to Hyderabad, and you'll find it very dusty. You clean your table, half an hour later you come back, again you have dust. Don't you think this, and then huge problem with mosquitoes. So you have to do that dance all the time when you're sitting in the evening. So don't you think this is something really serious? And 1,400 slum areas with a huge problem of sustaining this environment with having the open drainage system, for example, and the outbreak of cholera. So I feel we are in a crisis situation.
Definitely.
And the leaders from the healthcare management, they have to step forward to come up and put pressure, at all levels. I think our Prime Minister has done fantastic with the Swachh Bharat initiative.
Swachh Bharat is
overall
a very good program.
a good initiative. But I think we'll give the mic to Mr. Dattatreya. Maybe he can put some light how successful is Swachh Bharat initiative. Does it really work? What's happening with it? Sir, Mike.
I'm very happy that this seminar widely discussing about the many issues, and particularly women empowerment and poverty. And particularly I am very happy that you are Hyderabad city. Hyderabad city, you have taken up some projects and you are doing some good thing. So first of all, I welcome to take this initiative, and I congratulate this organization to have such seminars. And I thank the organizations, those who are supporting to this cause. Mainly, India is not a poor country. India is a rich country. But always we say that India is a poor country. India is a rich country because we have a huge manpower. Huge manpower. But unfortunately, as our friend said, education, lack of education. Lack of education. And second one, biggest problem is because India has got a big advantage of demographic dividend. Demographic dividend. And this youth force, young force, which is going to come by 2030, will spread all over the world. All over the world. And I feel that India can get the employment of 30 crore people in the world. That is the biggest opportunity. Provided the skill development. Skill is very important. I worked as a labor minister. In India, 97% of workforce is unskilled. 3% only skilled workforce is there. We need technical workforce. You compare to the, I went to Germany, I went to China, even I went to Japan. There I have seen their training centers. They train every year. 3 crore, 2 crore people workforce. But in India, only 10 lakhs, 8 lakhs. This is the comparison.
So my question.
So that's why my important aspect is skill development. Even in the many areas, some areas, 10th failed may be there. Intermediate may be failed. If we provide the proper skills, skill training, then definitely they will get the more opportunities. Once he gets opportunity, he can be promoted. Secondly, the slums. Slums in Hyderabad, there is no proper management. The biggest problem is no proper management.
What should be the proper management according to you? What we should do to eradicate the slum culture?
Management is, it should be less governmentalization, more people participation. That's why the Modi said, minimum government, maximum governance. Minimum government should be there. Maximum governance should be there. Here what is happening is, maximum government, minimum governance.
What if there is minimum government and minimum governance?
That is, first I told you the people participation. The people participation, there are some NGOs. Question is unnecessary spending. If we go through this NGO and with the local bodies, with local committees, you can have in slum education committee. You can have in slum Swachh Bharat committee. I have seen in one slum, if we properly educate, definitely they go for all methods which we tell. So my most priority will be hygiene, non-pollution, pure drinking water, and slums, all will be definitely participate. So that's why my feeling is, government spending more money, more subsidies, but the development is nil. And spending in the only for directly to the people will not yield anything, unless it should be empowered. Women empowerment or youth empowerment. That is more important.
I think absolutely right, sir. I agree with you on one point, that we need minimum government involvement and maximum people involved. I think that's a great initiative, and what the Prime Minister said, I think is also great, and the kind of leadership he's showing, especially in getting involved in Swachh Bharat. I think that is a good example, because that will motivate people. But I'd like to, ask Mary now, what's the difference you feel, when you travel all over the world? All right, she is a big supporter of Trump, and I'm really disappointed with the Paris Accord. He didn't sign it. He should have. All right. So, don't you think that the U.S. should be spearheading, should the leadership in sustainability when it comes to environment? What's your take on? I know he's your favorite leader, but
Well, I really haven't been thinking about it.
Mike has to be.
Huh? Oh yes. I think we can't solve the problems of the world, and one country cannot do that. It's got to have the buy-in and the commitment from every country. And although we can be encouraging it and giving guidance and helping, the countries have to buy into it. Unless you have it in your heart to do it, it's never going to work. You have to believe in it yourself and really want it, and then how can we do it? And then get outside resources to help you do it. And I think that's how the U.S. could help.
Sure, I think U.S. could do much better because they are one of the, the amount of power that country has is just amazing. They can bring a lot of change, So I feel, investing more in arms development or in exporting, there could be something really concrete to eradicate poverty. And I think American entrepreneurs, especially Bill Gates, Warren Buffett, they have set an example for the world. Give your money to bring a change in the world. But I think there a lot needs to be done when it comes to the government leadership in the United States. What do you think?
I really don't get into the political side too much. but I do think we can give support. But the countries, I don't believe in America going to a country and just trying to dominate it or anything like that. I think those countries, every country has to say, this is what we need, and this is the reason we need it. How can the U.S. help make that happen? But it has to come from the country itself. But I think sometimes government gets too involved, and I agree. Less government regulation sometimes in general. It used to be, there used to be hardly any government help. And I even remember when, you helped your neighbor and the community solved their own problems without a lot of government help. And now, everyone depends on government help. And I know in the U.S., you have all these people on welfare. And now they don't want to get off of welfare because they said if I get off of welfare, then I'm not going to get my government money. So if they go to work, then it discourages them to work because they would not get their welfare check. You see what I mean?
I got your point.
So I think you have to be it's a balance of how much government interference there should be in some of these things. Although there needs to be some government support, I think a lot of it can, people can get too dependent on government, and then nothing happens.
I'd like to ask a question to Danish. Danish, you're a social worker and a filmmaker, all right? Where do you think, what is lacking in our society, especially in leadership? You see a lot of issues, but nothing is changing drastically. What do you think is lacking in our, especially leadership at all levels, to bring a change in the society?
Good afternoon, everybody. I believe that the youth are not given the powers to speak, first of all. Their ideas are not being welcomed, and people with great ideas should be welcome in the society. And I've been associated with my NGO and all the social stuff, and I know how it works on the ground level. People talk a lot on the stage and everywhere that our party will support you in this way and that way. Mr. Dattaraya was speaking about the NGOs should be given work to help others. But I would like to tell you a fact that we know how the government works in reality. I am doing social service from around 4 years, and I tried to approach the government for some projects. I had some good ideas for the people that would be beneficial for everyone. So I was asked some money to get that loan or that project to be sanctioned. So such youth who are coming forward to help others and for the society, they feel so bad and they'll think हम जहाँ हैं जैसा कर रहे हैं वही बेहतर है, बजाय हम हमारा जो लोगों की मीटिंग्स में सुनने से बेहतर है कि we should do our work.
I think Mr. Dattaraya can answer those.
I want to answer.
You think
I told you, see the governmentalization should be transparent. Once it is transparent, then comes to the accountability. As he is mentioning rightly, One, leadership. Second one is bureaucracy. Third is rules. Now after coming to this government, Narendra Modi government, we have what you call 1,200 outdated laws, outdated rules. We have totally dismissed. But transparency is very important. And the corruption at lower level to top level. That's why I say that once transparency has come, most thing for transparency is technology. We use technology more, then the technology will get more transparency. Nowadays, technology, younger generation, see, now all you are well aware, everything marketing goes online, then there is the question of evasion of tax. Government will get more revenues. You are all well aware that this time GST has got highest amount. How? Because transparency, because technology.
Absolutely. I agree.
That's why there people are ready. Many organizations are there. Money is not death. Many will come. Many people will come for offering money. Government may not give. On their own, they wanted to ready to do it. But the thing is, more impediments in the government, more to get permission, to get things done, and he will be totally worried. That's why once transparency comes, technology comes, then the leadership will be more dynamic.
Absolutely. Now, when it comes to rules and regulations, Sarah, I'd like to ask a question to you. They say delayed justice is denied justice. There's so many cases pending, in the court. So, what is your take on it? How can we have development when we are not able to provide justice in time? What do you think?
I'll say that I'm not the right person to answer that. I will let the judges are the best person to answer on that. But yes, justice is delayed, is justice denied. I totally agree on that. But unfortunately, in our Indian law and constitution, there's so many. The laws are very good. You see the laws. Laws are very good. But how to manipulate those, we are well versed in that. And we advocates do that. So that's how it is. So there's nothing to laugh on that. It's a very serious issue. But that's how it is. See, I'm not the person who will say, because we ourselves as advocates do that so many times to save our clients. But I will not deny that I have not done it, or the other advocate or the senior, Supreme Court lawyer was sitting here. If you ask him also, he will answer the same thing. So it's basically the judges, and judges are already given the notice that 2017, 2018, all the previous, it has come from the government apparently, that all the previous cases of 2017-16 has to be done for 2018. It's not done today. So it's
That's a very honest answer.
Very honest, because that's the reality. That's the reality.
That's how it should be. Yeah. Right. Now, Moshni, I have a question for you. We say in India there is no more unemployment among the educated youth than illiterate. All right. Our honorable minister was talking about skill development. Where do you think we're lacking? We have 80% engineers who are unemployable. There is so much skill deficiency when we take interviews. Why do you think our country is lacking into that?
Everybody is provided a certain set of skills. There's no taking away from that. Having said that, limiting beliefs that we go with, and that is where I feel the main works and the sustainable change needs to be brought about. We've talked about the environment, we've talked about health, we've talked about government, we've talked about justice. I work in the headspace. So what I think is very, very important is to bring about sustainable change there. If we change and if we're able to influence the way the youth of today think, the way we look at change, the way we sustain change, I think that is where the work needs to begin. because the competencies are more or less the same. Yes, there are certain, if you look at the circle of influence and the circle of concern, there are certain things which are not in our influence. And let's be very clear that yes, government rules, inflation, weather, the environment, certain things are not in our control. But what we have in our control is how we deal with that. So sustainable change in our mindset, in the way we think, and not just at a level, but across levels, is what I feel would really, help us all.
That's great. That's a really good point. I'm not going to stretch this session. I think we had really good, wonderful, point from everyone. But Mr. Surana is into sustainability. I like him to give some takeaway points. What are the main things required to bring a sustainable change, not just in environment, also looking at the perspective of entrepreneurship, because there's a lot of opportunity for young people to get into business, to start up. But they prefer going to some other countries and starting sometimes, than in India. So what do you think is the main, points to bring a sustainable change, especially in India?
I'll just start with the thought which came when she was talking about. We are talking about unemployment and stuff like that. Believe me, I'm running factories and I have a lot of friends who are running factories, and our biggest grouse is we don't get people. Our biggest grouse is we don't get people to grow the speed at which we want to grow. And the reason is we have the jobs near the cities, and the people are in far-flung villages. And believe me, I'm not even so much worried about the skill part of it. The skills can be taught on the job. Most of the skills can be taught on the job. Our problem is either we have to go the China way, where the entire workforce migrates to the cities and works there, which is not a very desirable thing. But in the short run, until we take the jobs to the villages, I think we'll have to do both of them together. Create infrastructure in a very, very, very big way. I think the work which we have done, Gramin Vikas, whatever the stuff is there, is just scratching the surface. We have to create a huge infrastructure that anywhere in the country, you should be able to reach a big metro in 2 hours. Only then the jobs will go there. And that is finally the sustainable development which we would like about in terms of the jobs and the stuff like that. Because our salary levels are so low, our consumptions are so low, believe me, there is nothing which is required. But until that is done, and believe me, creating that infrastructure, even in today's pace, will take at least 10 to 15 years. And we don't have that type of time. In the next 10 to 15 years, we have to create satellite towns around cities where people from villages can come and work and at least have a decent livelihood. Right now they're coming and living in slums, they're living in unorganized areas, they're living in unauthorized areas. So we need to give minimum sanitation, minimum health in satellite towns where they can come and work in the cities, because the business work is only in cities. I'm sure you talk to any business owner, small, big, medium, his biggest thing is, I don't get people. If I want to grow, that is the only thing which is there. You talk to a training agency, they won't get trainers. You talk to a school, they won't get teachers. You talk to anybody, you won't get the right level of people. I don't get fitters. So that's as far as that part of sustainability is there. In terms of entrepreneurship, I have a lot of thought on why don't we create so much entrepreneurship. I personally feel our mindset, the Indian mindset and the Indian DNA is the best suited for entrepreneurship. Unfortunately, we find too many legal block holes. I keep telling a lot of people in a very jocular manner, you are on a road which has no, the left turn is blocked and there is a road sign which says no right turn. So that is what entrepreneurship in India is today. So either you learn to break or bend the rule and go right anyway and continue on the job, or you stop there, don't go left and stop everybody behind you. So we need to get everything moving at the same time. But in terms of mindset, in terms of intelligence, I've found nobody who's more enterprising, who's more jugaad, who can do more as an entrepreneur than an Indian can. The only other thing which is stopping most of the brilliant people, it's a tragedy, all our brilliant people get into services because they look at security. And the people who don't get a good job get into doing something on their own, which is somehow inverting the pyramid. So we need to ensure that there is a little bit more of that happening. And frankly, I never expect anything from the government because that is not sustainable again. We are talking about sustainability. The government can do only governance, and that's what they should be doing. They should give us good law and order, reasonable infrastructure in terms of road, electricity and all that. Looking forward to the government for doing anything more than that, I think is not going to be sustainable in future. We have to create that ecosystem ourselves. So I don't know if I made sense, but
I think the gist of today's panel discussion, something really interesting. We have a lot of academic discussions about this thing, and they did a research in the United States and asked what country's mangoes you prefer most, and they said India. But India is not the largest exporter to them, it is Panama. And the reason why is because of supply chain management. And he's absolutely right. Something we have to appreciate, our ex-Prime Minister, Mr. Vajpayee, he changed India's supply chain management by having that NH thing. Because he's very much right, unless and until we have a connection with our rural economy, they are not growing, it's obviously we will get a lot of crowd coming to the city, and as we said, if it is not sustainable, we'll have a lot of health issues, we'll have crime, we'll have a lot of youth-related problems. As Danish was telling, people are not listening to us. So I think that this is something really apt. And then I think Mr. Swan has also put a very important point on entrepreneurship, that are we giving them a sustainable environment where they can start a business, and business needs ideas and it also needs passion. Are we coming up with new products? So I think that's a very apt point. But I like to conclude here by saying, there are very good, inputs. So especially about our Member of Parliament, what he said is we need less of government and more of action, but we also need to have a kind of a system where things move fast. But what happens usually in our country, what I've seen, because people cannot wait, they try to bribe and do shortcuts, and that will never bring a change. So I think there is a lot to be done in our country. So overall, I believe all the panel members have given some really good inputs, but this should not be the end of it. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to conclude this very interesting, informative summit, and I would like to profoundly thank our Honorable Minister for taking time and coming over here. We wish to see you for many years to come, and wish to see you as bringing a lot of change in our country. I would like to profoundly thank Ms. Mary Ann for flying in from United States of America and giving the time for the whole day. Mr. Devendra Rana, Mr. Nathar from the Dean from Shadam, Mr. Danish, Moshmi, thank you so much, and especially my thanks to Sarah Khan and Zahavia. Ladies and gentlemen, as we discussed this morning, SARS is about bringing a change, and this is the first step. I look forward for many summits and sessions and knowledge enhancement from this organization in days to come. I would also like to thank profoundly President of Association of British Scholars. You can wave your hand. He has come down from Delhi, the entire team of Association of British Scholars, and everybody present here, Ekta, and the foreign delegates who have come here, the panel speakers. Special thanks to Lakshmi and the team of Saz, Ali and Manaz. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for being here, and we'll have a group picture, and then we will have tea. So I request everybody to move forward so that we can have a get together before, let's have a picture first.
Who's clicking first?
Towards the camera. Many.
Look here. Wait a moment, please.
It's too difficult with such a big crowd. He wants a picture.
About how you feel about today's summit and what do you think about SARS?
No, today's SARS summit is very useful to the present context because leadership is most important. Leadership from lower level to top level. In any management, leadership is effective.
Water. Get some water.
The today's summit of the SARS is very essential because from local level to top level or from lower level to top level in any institution or in any administration needs a dynamic leadership. A leadership with the decision, leadership with the training, leadership with the innovations, leadership with the vision. So that's why all are one together to be properly educated, properly trained, and then only the youth force in India, particularly in women, very important.
Thank you very much for coming, sir. It was wonderful to see you. Have a nice day. Thank you.
Second session was
Okay, Mr. Surana, I would like you to say how did you feel about today's summit? Was it what are the takeaway points you would like to give in a nutshell?
I think today's summit was interesting and informative because we were talking about two very, very interesting aspects. One is about the entrepreneurship, and I'm very passionate about entrepreneurship. I feel that is the way the world has to go in the future. As things are becoming more and more uncertain, entrepreneurship is the way of life, and we talked about various facets of entrepreneurship which are hopefully very insightful for all the participants. The second area which we talked about, which actually was a surprise for me, is sustainability. And I guess without sustainability we don't have anything. And some of the points which came out about sustainability, both in terms of manpower, in terms of the environment, was very interesting and insightful. I hope they are of use to the participants, and definitely I learned a little. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for your time. Thank you, kind of you. I'm with Ms. Maushmi Gupta. She's an entrepreneur and a trainer. I would like to know, how do you feel about today's summit?
It has been such an inspiring day, and to be a part of SARS and be a part of voicing people's dreams. It's been very, very insightful. We spoke about leadership and entrepreneurship and sustainability, all causes that I hold very close to my heart. Diversity and inclusion, my first love, and I'm hoping to partner with SARS and help a lot of people voice their dreams. Thank you so much.
I'm here with Dr. Mathur. He's the Dean of Shada College, a very eminent person and medical professional. Sir, in a nutshell, I would like to ask, how do you feel about today's summit?
Oh, I really enjoyed it. Actually, I felt as if I had become 40 years back to my life. So it was a very good discussion, very healthy discussion, a good feast of academics, and a wide variety of topics were discussed in a short time. I feel that every topic which should be given one day, so that more discussion can occur and more things we can learn and exchange our views. And I'm sure you will do great justice to our country by involving more and more people. And I wish this summit, and I offer my personal services and participation, but my institution, Shadan Institute of Medical Sciences, and my managing director, Dr. Sarib Rasul Khan, a dynamic person who's always ready to support such summits. He will be with you always. This is an assurance I can give on his behalf. I congratulate you, and I feel that this should continue. It's the beginning, and we should have more and more such meetings. Hearty congratulations to you, and hearty congratulations, and very greetings from Shadan family of Hyderabad.
Okay, we are here with the president of the Association of British Scholars, with the whole team, and I think it has been great to have them here. Vijay, in a nutshell, how do you feel about today's Leadership Summit?
I feel it was a wonderful program where I was the lone person among the panel of ladies, and they had some very interesting questions for us to answer. And after that, we had the entrepreneurs speaking. We learned quite a bit about their way of functioning and how they became entrepreneurs in the first place. So all in all, it was a wonderful experience. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we are here with some delegates from Africa. I'd like to ask Ms. Grace, how do you feel about today's Leadership Summit in a nutshell? 30 seconds.
Oh, wow, I'm so grateful being here this afternoon. This is the best conference I've ever attended, where lives are being built, being a leader, what it takes to be a leader, what it takes to empower women, and what it takes to sustain life. I think this is the best conference and the best place to be. Thank you.
Your inputs, Mahmood?
Actually, the event is, was more than I expected, really. A very great delegates, people who know what they were talking about. And the topics, like it was about entrepreneurship, women empowerment, skills, and sustainability. So I think as Africans we share a lot of things with India, and we can benefit many things about attending such programs. And we are looking forward for more programs that we can share together. Thank you very much.
Betty, your last.
Yeah, I enjoy the everything. I like it. Yes.
Thank you so much. Mr. Archie is a coach and also an entrepreneur. What do you feel about today's summit?
We had a great time, and I would like to thank SAS Foundation for organizing this summit. We started off with skill development with a very focused aim that we should empower not only the youth, both in urban as well as the rural areas. Then moved on to entrepreneurship, women empowerment, and sustainability. So the entire day was action-packed, and at the same time we had very useful inputs from all the panels who have come and spoken on these areas. So I would like to thank the entire team of SAS Foundation. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you. अभी मैं हनीफ साहब के साथ हूँ, जो बीजेपी के बड़े लीडर हैं. आप आज के समिट के बारे में बताइए, आपको कैसा लगा?
आज का जो समिट है, मेरा ये मानना है कि ये समिट के द्वारा स्किल डेवलपमेंट का अगर स्किल डेवलपमेंट का जैसा वुमेन एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप का बात कही गई है और लीडरशिप इस समिट की बात की गई है, तो मैं चाहूँगा कि आज का जो फाउंडेशन की तरफ से साज टचिंग हार्ट फाउंडेशन का जो मेन टारगेट होना चाहिए वो स्किल डेवलपमेंट की तरफ अगर जाता है तो बहुत अच्छा रहेगा, और उसके लिए जो भी सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट का वो होगा उसके लिए हम कॉपरेट करेंगे.
बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया. Feel about today's summit.
Today's summit was fantastic. It is so inspiring to see all the leaders that you have here in Hyderabad, and their plans for the future for the citizens of India.
Thank you, Kelly. Thank you so much. Thank you. Okay, Mr. Barkat, how do you feel about today's summit?
Honestly telling, fantastic. Now the one request is we need to join hands and work together to make this happen really in practical life. We talk about leadership, let's make it practically. That's what I believe, and I believe in teamwork. We can do together wonders. We can move mountains. Let's God bless us all. Thank you.
It was wonderful to discover Ekta today, and I'd like to ask her, how do you feel about today's summit?
I think it was extremely informative. There was some, it was extremely informative. There were some wonderful discussions that happened. The luminaries who were there present today gave us a lot to think about in terms of how we look at development, how we look at sustainability, how we look at the growth of India, especially for the younger generation, developing their skills, helping them grow as entrepreneurs and taking India forward to the next generation. Thank you.